Welcome to the Performance Portfolio Podcast with Coop and Coop. Greg Cooper is the owner of Cooper Performance Coaching and lead instructor at Kodakwai Judo Club in Edmonton, Alberta. He is on the lifelong pursuit of helping others increase their performance. Cooper Allen is a top financial advisor from Barrie, Ontario, whose focus is empowering everyday families with advice, leadership, and tools that we should have been given in school. Together, they bridge the gap between performance and finance to help you create your own robust performance portfolio. With that, let's get into today's episode.
Coop, I've been manifesting, talking about manifestation. And I started it like that because I got to give a shout out to Brandon Schultz, who's my best friend's trainer. And he and his podcast partner, Jorge, were talking about it and how it's a little foo-foo and manifestation will only take you so far. And then when I prompted you with my thinking on this would be a great thing to talk about, you said something quite interesting on where your brain was at this morning.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago listening to a podcast similarly, or it might have been a growth conference recording or something like that. But I heard a girl talking about the concept of uh, kind of being the. I think she had mentioned that she was the person in the personal development space that kind of coined like where the woo meets the work. Uh, and she was big on kind of woo woo, personal development, goals, vision, work on yourself, but then also knows the grindstone, grind, hunger, get after it, and kind of combining that bridge between logic and emotion. So, uh, yeah, I figured that'd be a neat episode. And I didn't know if we were going to do it today or not, but figured it would be neat to talk about how much of that we think is legit versus complete Kool-Aid pie in the sky type of stuff. But hilarious that that thought occurred and then you popped on with your topic as well. Kind of seems that that happens pretty frequently.
Yeah, man. Hey, when you're, I mean, I think that's the reason why we do the podcast, right? Like we have a lot of alignment, but again, we have different perspectives of the world, just geographically based where we are professionally and everything like that. But I think that's an important note as a side note where, if you look at the people around you in your circle, they don't all have to be carbon copies of you. In fact, that's not what it should be because if you only hang out with people that think the same thing, there's no room for growth there. Or they can be very aligned with what you're talking about, but you need that difference of opinion so you have somebody to call you on your shit and have somebody to challenge you. So, yeah, that's why it's always funny that we attack things from different angles, but usually we're looking for a topic and then it's like, hey, I was thinking about this. No way. I was thinking about this just in this format.
For
But
sure. I think that's a good note before we jump into our topic. Uh, Whether you're an entrepreneur or not, I feel like there's a lot of people who believe that they're the only one that's going through their problem. And especially, I'm going to talk specific to the entrepreneurs for a minute, is the entrepreneurship space can feel lonely. There are people who just won't get it. And I can promise you, I know it's cliche, but there is a percentage of people that will get it. If you just start talking about it and just increasing your environment, you can't change people, but you can change their environment. In the same way, it's hard to change yourself without changing your environment. So if you're in that part of your entrepreneurial journey where it does feel lonely, yes, that is part of the price of admission of getting the freedom of being a business owner. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be as lonely as what it's sold on social media. You can find some people who they might not get everything about your vision, uh, but if someone has a good enough business acumen and they care and they pay attention, they might not know 20%, but they know 80% of what you're going through because it's mostly the same stuff, whether it's entrepreneurs as a niche, whether it's high level athletes as a niche. Uh, it's why there's so much respect among one another in that space from peer to peer because people just know what it takes to play at that level.
yeah, that's a great note. And I think, if we talking about the entrepreneur space or like conferences, right? There's a reason why they bring in the former pro athlete or the current athlete or the person that went through adversity is maybe now like a paraplegic or a para athlete because they were in an accident and they're talking about the struggle they went through. And you can create parallels in that, right? Like judo athletes aren't locked to only, talking to other judo athletes. Yes, there are specific sport specific problems that only a judo athlete would understand. But a hockey player, a dancer, a, a runner can all understand training lumps, injury, can all understand coach communication issues, can all understand all of these topics. And in the business world, entrepreneurs can understand that too. Maybe it's not a physical injury, but it's like, oh, it was a terrible month and now you can't pay your two employees or you don't know if you can. Um, somebody broke into your storefront and now you have to deal with that, right? There's so many different things where, to your point, people get so wrapped up and pigeonholed in, woe is me. And then they look to, well, I'm just gonna, kind of tailing it into what we will be talking about here. I'm just gonna manifest that everything's gonna be okay and everything's gonna be okay. Positivity is important. I'm a pretty positive guy. Most people will say that. Sometimes it's kind of frustrating, but um, it depends on how you use it. When everything is going wrong, you're not going to be able to talk yourself out of a problem without acting on it, right? So like that's where people get misconstrued in manifestation. I think some people put too much stark into it of, well, I manifested it. No, you actually didn't. You talked about it, and that gave you a target, gave you a goal, it gave you potentially the pathway, but your action is what got you out of that down that really terrible time in your business or that really terrible injury or whatever struggle you were going through. It was the action that people take. And you could say the same thing when things are going great, all your goals are aligned. Guess what? It wasn't you just like continuing that pot. No, it was the action you were taking. So I think a lot of times people and athletes put too much stark into manifestation and visualization. With that being said, people that know me are listening to this, but like you talk about that all the time. Yes, but I'll use this as the example before I send it back to you. I tell all my athletes, even in training, okay, 20 seconds before the next round, visualize the first exchange executed as good as you can. Your first gripping sequence, and you're going to smash your teammate on the other side with the cleanest throw you've ever done. Because that gives a vision and a target. I'm going to throw Coop with that throw, and it's going to be great. Now it gives you that pathway. You can do that every single time and never accomplish it if you don't actually apply what you're thinking about, apply what you're visualizing about. And it's happened to me. I do that before last season when I was fighting. I did that before every fight. There were some fights that I came off, I'm like, yes. I visualized it. That was the plan, stuck to it, and it worked. Then there was some times where I went, wow, the rails came off. I put my hands on that guy. He caught me so bad. And there are the moments that show, yeah, it's an important tool, but it's not the crucifix, the only thing that's going to get you there.
So that breaks down something really important that I hope the listeners hear on this is there's a huge difference between manifestation, visualization, and preparedness. And I think all three are important to varying degrees, but manifestation has turned into, because it's talked about so much in personal development, people just think, I'm just going to pray for it and it's just going to happen. And the counter to that is in personal development, the quote that I like is, yeah, pray like it's up to a higher power, but work like it's up to you. You can do both if you want to implement manifestation in your life still and throw out words of affirmation. I've never been a big like shout things in the mirror at myself type of person, but if it works for you, it works for you. And I'm sure there's a lot of positive psychology that says that that is effective. Having said that, I hope that people don't confuse manifestation and visualization because manifestation is desiring an outcome. Visualization is seeing the outcome before it happens. So when you mention visualizing how the fight's going to go, yeah, absolutely. That's not manifesting that you're going to win. That's putting yourself in the cage before you're in the cage, or on the mat before you're on the mat, or on the ice before you're on the ice, on the sales call, talking to the client before you're there. If I were to hop on with you, I would visualize probably half an hour before the call. How's it going to go? Down to what are the first couple things that I'm going to say to you to build rapport, so that when I get on the call, I don't freeze and get introverted and awkward and whatever. I've visualized how it's going to go, so it's going to go that way. Now, the third part is the part that we talked about on a previous episode, which was the importance of being prepared. Because you can visualize all you want, but everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. So that's when it falls back on, okay, you manifested that you want an outcome, you visualized it happening, but then as soon as it goes a little bit off plan, client hits you with an objection that you weren't expecting. You got caught in a fight. Uh, you came out expecting man-to-man defense and they're playing zone defense. Whatever it is, business or personal, you had a budget and a game plan there, but then you had a big expense come up that you got blindsided on. Whatever it is, the preparedness comes down to your training. You got caught. Okay, well, what's the next move? What's the next counter? Oh, you're down on the mat now. Okay. Well, do you get back up? Do you roll with them? Do you reverse? What does it look like? In the sales world, client hits you with an objection. You might not have visualized handling the objection. And when you manifested the outcome, you might not have expected to have to objection handle. But in your training, did you practice objections enough times that when one came up, you're able to handle it and get back on course towards the visualization to get the end result? So the downside to manifestation, Greg, is that a lot of people will not do the preparedness piece because, like, don't worry, I manifested. God's got me, or the universe has got me, or whatever they believe in has got me. Yeah, they got you because they gave you the time in the day and the wisdom to prepare, so that when the opportunity presented itself and all you had to do was show a little bit of preparedness to get the result. To your point, Greg, yes, you might have manifested it. Yes, you visualized it, but you also prepared for it. And that's kind of where the woo meets the work, if you will.
I appreciate you using your logical brain because I might have got a little preachy there and started blurring the lines of manifestation and visualization. So thanks for making that definition because they are very different things. And to your point on, where the woo meets the work, that is the important thing to note. Mentally and physically, we don't grow through wishing, through manifesting. We grow through repetition. You can't improve yourself in any part of your life without that, right? And the phrase I always say, and I think this aligns well, is, a dream is wish. Oh, my dream is to be Olympic champion, or my dream is to be a millionaire, whatever that is. That to me is more on the manifestation side because you're just, one day I'll get it, one day. And that's the phrasing that comes with it. When we visualize things and when you do it properly and you execute that visualization so then you can then act on it, visualization isn't done. Well, one day I'm going to be able to hit that new PR in the gym. One day I will be that champion. No, I'm visualizing the process, visualizing the hard work, visualizing the steps, national champ, okay? World ranking, world champ, Olympic champ. That is a pathway that is created through visualization. Manifestation is completely intangible. Visualization is very tangible if you map it out properly. And to build on what you were saying there, I think manifestation becomes like a scapegoat for people that are truly afraid to do the work. So they use it as like it's identity theater is what it is. It's a show. You're talking positive, you're saying all the good things, you're saying you're reading all these books, you're doing all this, you're manifesting that you're going to be something or going to be a different version of you soon, but you're just caught in this false positivity loop that isn't moving you anywhere. It's like busy work versus productivity. And if people are listening to this and starting to get a little ticked, it's because you're in that positivity loop. You're actually not changing your manifestation into that visualization piece. It can start as manifestation. I'm not saying that's not something you should do. For sure, positive self-talk is important. If you always call yourself an idiot, if you always call yourself, weak, not successful, that is where you need to start. But once you start using, manifestation, positive self-talk, positive self-image, okay, now you've created a positive emotion towards yourself. Great. Now start visualizing what it's going to take. Okay, that's step two. Okay, so you visualize, okay, right now I'm just started my own company. I don't have any clients. I don't have any business. My vision for it in 5 years is X. In 3 years is X. In 1 year is X. Now you've created a roadmap for yourself to take you from where you are, what you're manifesting, where you are currently, to okay, in the next 365 days, this is what needs to be done to hopefully achieve that goal, to potentially achieve that goal if everything goes well. Great. Now you've made an action plan. In the next 60 days, this is what's going to happen. In the next 90 days, this is what's going to happen. This week, this is what's going to happen. And this is where the tools we talk about all the time, like the power list and the big three, come in. Those tools take manifestation into action, into visualization, and into tangible things you can do every day to stop just talking about all of the niceties that you want in your life, all of the success you want in your life, and actually doing the things that are required. Because if all you have is dreams, all you have is manifestation of a better life, that's all it's ever going to be until you start doing the things required to meet your goals.
It also creates two types of completely unfulfilled people. So you've got person number one is the person who is nose to the grindstone, work, thinks all visualization, manifestation is just woo-woo. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to work hard. Well, you've created a life for yourself of run your head into a wall over and over and over and over and over again because that's the identity that you have. You just work hard, you provide for your people. That's it. But you've never really stepped back to think about bigger picture. Why am I really doing this? And if you sat down and you wrote some goals out of the principles that not just you want to stand for, but you speak them into existence of hoping your kids and your friends and other people uh, take on those traits and things you hope that they say about you at your funeral. Hey, Greg always worked hard. He was always dependable. He was always there. So there's people that are really good at working hard that I think could use the benefits of goal setting and vision and a little bit of manifestation and getting more of that into their life to make sure that they're working hard, but that hard work is also caught by other people, not for recognition, but for impact. Then there's the flip side is I find, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I find a lot of people when they manifest, they're manifesting for materialistic things. I want the car, I want the house, I want an abundance of money and this and that and the next. And they visualize being rich or visualize it being successful, but it just comes from an unhealthy place. And when they don't pair it with the work to make it happen, to me, that's the worst place to be because now you've opened your eyes to the possibility of a better life, but then every day you wake up, you've told yourself, I know there's more out there, but I'm just not going to chase it. And then they usually don't have that honest conversation with themselves and they really look in the mirror and go, hey, by me not doing this today, I'm admitting that I'm not willing to go chase it. But it subconsciously starts to eat at them. And but then the personal development world keeps telling them, yeah, but you deserve it. You deserve it. Well, if you haven't put in the work, no, you haven't. No, you don't. So if every day you're trying to tell yourself, well, I deserve it and I'm going to manifest it and it's going to come to me and I attract it and but then you don't back it up with the work, the reason that you're unfulfilled is that even if you do somehow get it, you're gonna know deep down that it's luck and you're not gonna feel good even when you do get it. And then if you don't get it, it's just a life of disappointment because you've set such high expectations of what's going to happen and it didn't happen. And also not realizing that a lot of the fulfillment that you're going to get is through the actual work that's required to get it. It's not the end outcome. It's the being tired at the end of the day going, man, I gave it my all. And there's just this sense of pride that comes with that. And then you start to create this identity of, I'll live a life that others won't because I do the work that others don't. And without that, that's the identity that's attached to the manifestation that's needed for any of the stuff that comes to you to feel, for you to feel worthy of it, for it to be enjoyable, for it to feel earned, for you to want to create a legacy with it, all of the things that are going to create the actual emotion that you're after.
Two things you said there really stuck out to me. I'm gonna skip forward and then come back because the first one is a bit longer of a talk. But I really like that you made the connection that manifestation is overall more materialistic, which I do believe to be true. You know, look, open your phone, go to Instagram. Every influencer out there is showing the material stuff, you know, not the work. And the ones that are showing the work are the ones that don't blow up on TikTok and Instagram as fast or maybe ever, even though the value and the content they put out and what they're doing in their daily lives is extremely valuable. They're not out there faking it until they make it. And that phrase has been so overused and it's so terrible, right? Because the fake it till you make it is so materialistic and is only materialistic. And the people that do manifest, you know, the car, the house, you know, the all of that stuff that really, at the end of the day, right? You can't take it with you. It doesn't matter. Um, create like a false mess. It's a false message of manifestation will get you there. No, no, it won't. But I'll tie it to the athlete world. Athletes can't never fake it till they make it because they can't. You can't fake skill. You can't fake strength. You can't fake sports knowledge. You cannot fake action. You could say that you're the points leader in the league all day long. Okay, well, let's go. Well, he actually only has 2 points this season and we're 15 games in. So that's not true. That individual may have been manifesting that they were going to be, but clearly they didn't do the action to get them there, or something went wrong, right? They got injured. Oh, okay. That checks out. Fair enough. But when you look at it that way, I think it tells you what you need to know about manifestation. Again, good tool when used. Self-talk, you know, affirming that you're going to do these things in life, but then, okay, great. Message, now visualize it. Now take action. Find the people you need to surround yourself with to help get you there. Find the coach, find the team, find the partner, right? The people that will inspire you and help you take action. And that brings me to the other point where you talked about at the funeral. And I think a lot of people, I would say largely it's more on the male side of legacy of your last name, right? That's why a lot of men want to have a son, right? They want their legacy to continue. But at your funeral, the people that you have there aren't going to be talking about the what ifs. Oh, could you imagine if Greg did the things he said he was going to? I mean, if that's being said at your funeral, if that gets said at my funeral, I'd be like, wow. If I was looking down on that, I'd be like, eesh, I talked a lot of shit in my life then. And then that's going to show. But if at your funeral, people are going, like you said, oh, he was always working hard. He was always doing the things. He helped people around him. He ran a successful business. He coached, right? Like all of this stuff, people are going to say the things that actually happened because that individual took action. And many years ago, I did this performance course. Donald Miller, he's this really successful marketer out of Nashville and a performance coach. And in his goal setting course process, there was a piece where you had to write your own obituary. And it was a really cool practice because he explained it in the video. And essentially it's like, write down, when you die, what would your obituary look like? Write that out. And it's a little morbid, but if you look at it through a different lens, it's based on legacy, it's based on action, it's based on, okay, writing that, if you write it incorrectly, it could land in that realm of manifestation and foo-foo and woo-woo. But if you did the goal setting, you have your long-term, mid-term, short-term goals, you have your actionable things you do every day, you can kind of map out. All right, well, at my funeral, I want people talking about this, this, and this. Those are the three things that I'm going to leave an impact on the earth before I leave. And it was a really cool practice. And I go back to it every once in a while, just in my brain going, yeah, that was neat. Because when I first did it, I was young and I didn't really understand it at all to the point that I do now. Obviously, through time, you think about things more and you expand your knowledge. But legacy and a good legacy is only left through action.
100%. An obituary also should never dive into the woo-woo. If you understand, like go read one. I've read zero obituaries in my lifetime that have said so and so had an awesome house. I loved driving by it because it was so big and so nice to look at. Right? An obituary is not, what's great about that exercise is it's not materialistic at all. It's 100% character. This person was this person was that, this person was. So what are those things that you identify as? I think it's why a lot of parents cling so hard to this parent identity is it's the only identity they really have because they're not consciously creating an identity outside of that. Oh, I popped out a kid. Okay, my identity's a mom. My identity's a dad. Okay, well, are you a dependable one? Are you a supportive one? Are you a resourceful one? Are you one that provides? Oh no, I'm just a parent. I don't know, but create your identity around it's not about the fact that you're a parent, it's who are you as a person and how do those traits apply to parenting? Oh, I'm a friend. Okay, but what identifies you as a person that makes you a certain type of friend? So your identity is not your job, your identity is not your friends, your identity is not your any titles that you assign yourself. Your identity is your character that you bring to all of those titles. It's completely why I'm in the financial industry is because I did a similar exercise, Greg, on what do I want to achieve in my life in terms of the obituary concept? What do I want to be known for? What do I want other people to say about me? To the point where it actually hurt me for a while, where I was so worried about living up to the moniker of making sure other people would say that about me. It's like, oh no, it's not about other people saying that about me. It's about me just living that standard and knowing deep down that that's the standard that I'm living. But if I want people to look at me as dependable and a person of integrity and always being willing to open my network to support other people, then I got to look at opportunities in my business or career, or call it whatever you want, where I can help people and I can make a difference for them. And I, it's why you won't catch me if you came to me and said, "Can you just give me a quote on life insurance because I just bought a home?" No, it's not what I do. Yes, I hold an insurance license, but the core of me being fulfilled is sitting down and going, let me understand your situation. Here's where you are today. Here's where you're trying to get to. And how can I either help you personally or leverage my network to help you get from here to here while enjoying it along the way? That's what's fun to me. With that, does that come proper life insurance protection? Sure. Will that come with getting money compounding and investing your wealth? Sure. But it's way more than that. It's life planning. It's getting from goal A to goal B and leveraging my network and my knowledge to support you in that journey. So it has nothing to do with finance, similarly to how I bet what you do has almost nothing to do with performance.
Coop, to your point on identity, and I like that you use the parents one because that is, I'm not a parent, but I see it all the time. And it's definitely one that happens, I think, the most, and then is most prevalent. But I got to go back to um, Strength in Context, which is Brandon and Jorge. It's their podcast. They were talking about identity and the words we use, especially in the manifestation phase, where in English, especially, it's I am. I am weak. I am going to be, right? It's these I am sentences, and words do truly matter, right? And the cool connection that Jorge made, Jorge is Spanish. He's from Mexico. The Spanish language doesn't say, like, it doesn't translate I am hungry. It's I have hunger, because I am is an identity piece, right? And they were talking about this and it really stuck with me. I actually listened to that podcast twice now, that episode. And it made me start thinking where, yeah, like, you hear everybody say it. I am a failure. I am an idiot. I'm weak. All of these negative things. And, over time, you're going to start believing that. And then you stop having belief. But on the manifestation side, on the flip side of that coin, if you're saying all these things, like, I am Olympic champion, I am, well, no, no, that's factually not true. You are absolutely not that thing. I am successful. Maybe. What's your definition of success? What are your targets you've set out for yourself to have personal success? Success is another word that, when used incorrectly in the manifestation side of things, can become very dangerous. And going back to that identity theater and that positivity loop of false progression, if you identify yourself as something, or you want to identify yourself as something, that's great. I am a winner. That is a great thing to tell yourself. Okay, so what is your target? What are you trying to be a winner at? You use sports as the example. It's very easy to visualize and very easy for people to understand. Okay, I have a judo athlete. I want to become national champ. I am a winner. Okay, great. That is a great positive feeling that you're creating in yourself. And that is a very tangible target that is, frankly, right in front of us. Great. As we speak in this podcast, Nationals is a month away for judo in Canada. I have a lot of kids that want to be national champ. I have a lot of kids that I believe will become national champ. They've put in the work this year, and in the next month, in the next 4 weeks, their effort will either get them towards that goal, and then they can truly identify as that national champ, or maybe the effort isn't going to be there and they won't be able to identify as that. Maybe the effort is there, and when you go to nationals, it's best versus best, and you get bested that day. Well, you can't call yourself national champ, but you can still call yourself a winner, because you did everything in your power. You put in that effort and then some. You asked the right questions. You dialed the right things in. You weren't going out with your buddies on Friday playing video games. You were in the gym training, or you were at home recovering, or you were watching judo film. You were doing the things necessary to achieve that. But it's not always going to happen. Unfortunately, a lot of our goals become unmet, or maybe we don't meet them when we want to. But if the work was put in, I'm still going to be sitting in your corner, proud of knowing that that individual did that work. Or if I'm talking about myself personally, yes, I did everything in my power. I did the right things, but I just fell short, because that is how life happens. And especially in the sports world, there's one winner and there's one loser. Or actually, there's a lot of losers, right? There's one national champ, silver, two bronzes, the rest, right? Unfortunately, that's how it is.
That's
But
the biggest adjustment that there's a lot of really good things that athletes can take and transition into life after sport or life outside of sport. One of the ones that can be tough to transition is, hey, someone else doesn't have to lose for you to win. You can live an everybody wins life. And it's such an interesting concept to me, because here's the thing is that people make decisions emotionally, but they back them up with logic. So the problem with a lot of manifestation is that it's very emotional, and then it's not backed up with any logic. So if someone's like, I'm a winner, I'm a champion. That's great. Okay, these are emotional statements. But to your point from earlier, Greg, there's no logic behind it. But if I turned around and said, hey, Coop, see how you just logged in your phone right there? Man, you're awesome. That's why you're going to win. And switching from as dumb as it is, you back it up with logic a little bit and you go from I'm a champion to that's why you're going to win. And you leave win loose enough where it's like you might not win nationals and be a national champion, but like win at life, win as a parent, win in your business. Hey, see how you took notes and prepared for this call? That's why you're going to win. See how you drank that water bottle? That's why you're going to win. Get out of bed, put your feet on the ground. See how you just rolled out of bed? That's why you're going to win. And if you keep telling yourself, hey, that's why you're going to win, that's why you're going to win, that's why you're going to win, you've just shifted an affirmation, but you've attached an affirmation to an activity. And this is especially important in parenting. You can sit there to your kids and I love you, you're so special, you're so strong, you're so smart. They might believe that. I think you're a better parent than the one who is always just saying to your kid, well, shut up. Ah, you're not good enough. You're not. So I think you're better there. But what if you took a behavior that you really wanted them to do, and every time you did that, it's like, hey, that was awesome. That's why you're such a great son. That's why you're such a great daughter. That's why you're gonna make such a great parent one day. That's why you're gonna make such a great leader in this world one day. That's why you're so strong. And you anchor that instead of just, yeah, you're so special. Okay, anchor. So take the emotional thing. I think the emotional thing is important in the context of parenting because a lot of kids don't get that love as it is. So if you're not doing it, do the woo-woo stuff with your kids because they deep down they actually want it. But then attach it to something logical as well.
Real quick on that, as a bit of a side note, I really admire people that lead with logic and then follow it with emotion because I wish I was one of those people at certain times. But I see it in athletes, the ones that are calm, cool, collected, like no matter what is happening, they're just even because they're thinking about the things that need to get done to continue that momentum or correct what they need to correct. And when they do get that end goal, then you see like pure raw emotion because that's how their brain works. And they're logic, progression, emotion at the end, which is really cool to see. Where anybody who spent any morsel of time with me, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I lead with emotion, but I'm not emotional. I lead with emotion and like immediately follow it up with logic. I'm just, especially as I coach very passionately. You go to a judo tournament, you see me jump in the chair. I'm like having an own judo match in the coaching chair myself. And honestly, if I wore a heart rate monitor for every fight I've ever had, my heart rate would be lower in my fights than it is in the chair because I want these kids to succeed. And that's how I am. I lead with emotion. But for people out there, and why I'm saying this, I'm not saying this to brag or to say that, ooh, look at me, I'm passionate. Yeah. I'm saying it because people that lead with emotion, be careful. Make sure that you do the personal work, that you map things out properly, that you track things, that you put your goals on sheets, that you work and do the work. Because if it's emotion followed by emotion, it could be a slippery slope. And it can become not productive. And the feedback that you give then becomes, are they just saying that because they always say I'm doing good? Where, yeah, you can say, that was excellent. Now let's do this and then make that next step. But for people that lead with emotion first, make sure you quickly learn to follow it up with logic to add credibility to what you're saying. Especially if you're a person that naturally wants to praise people, that naturally wants to give positive feedback. It's a great trait to have, but it needs to be met with why you're giving that positive feedback. On the other side of that, the good thing is when you do give constructive criticism at that point, people will listen because that is not the normal. When you go, you know what? Yeah, no, we got a lot of work to do on that. Oh, people will listen. Where sometimes on the other side, to the people that lead with logic, they can come off cold at times. And when they give constructive criticism, people go, why are they being so mean to me? But that's a totally different topic. But
Well,
connecting
let's.
it
I'll
back,
summarize. I'll summarize it this way, and this is kind of my final thought, Greg, before I turn it back to you to close. Is when you think of logic led, I'll give a tangible example. Logic led, very little emotion or emotion later. Alex Hormozy, perfect example. To a lesser degree, because there is a bit more heart on your sleeve emotion there, but Andy Frisella to a degree. When you think emotion led, then backed by facts and logic, I think of like an Ed Milet, for example, or a Tony Robbins. When you compare those people, if Alex Hormozy or Andy Frisella got in a room with Tony Robbins or Ed Milet, they'd have a conversation, and Hormozy doesn't look at Milet and go, "That's a rah guy." Hormozy still looks at Milet and goes, "No, he knows his shit. Like he's got a strong business acumen." Because you can tell people who are logic first, emotion later can sniff out the difference between someone who's rah with no business acumen and someone who is rah but backs it up with a strong business acumen. There's a huge difference between someone who's just excited versus, and if you're not excited about your life, I'd say get way more excited about your life. Uh, because if you're not excited about your life, then you have to be like Frisella or Hermosi level execution to get where you want to go. Uh, which very few people are. So you have to get excited, but don't sell me a dream that you're not willing to work for. Don't sell me a dream that actually is not something that's likely for me to fulfill. Don't tell me that I'm going to make $1 million a year selling you overpriced cereal, and the only way that I get to a million a year is if I have 100,000 people in my downline making sales of overpriced cereal. That's not a dream. That's a pipe dream, is what that is. It's not crazy. There's not a ton of logic there. It's like if my goal is actually to make $1 million, let me find an industry where I can go make $1 million, and that's going to be a $2 profit margin on however many jars of baby food or jars of cereal and some network marketing thing that I got to sell. But yeah, making sure I love that point, Greg, is that if you're aspiring to be an Ed Milet, you got to understand that, like, actually do your research on some of these people. If you're aspiring to be a Tony Robbins or you're aspiring to be an Ed Milet, don't just look at their motivational quotes and start posting motivational quotes on Instagram. Dig deeper on the businesses that they've actually run and the depth of who they are as a person. Because when you get in the room with some of these types of people, and I see it all the time in our business, is you'll see some people in our business that are multimillionaires will come give a stage talk to 1,000 people, and it's very woo woo, rah rah. Here's my story. If I can do it, you can do it. But then you get in the smaller room, the more leadership meeting, and you get like actual tangible training on numbers and metrics and systems. And it's like, oh, you're not the rah guy. Like you actually really know your stuff, and you're inspiring people to do the bare minimum work to get into the smaller room to learn how to excel at the next level. But I would argue that probably 80% of people on Instagram right now that are trying to fake it till they make it, like you said earlier, Greg, and being raw people don't have the ability to have a smaller room meeting with tangibles. And that's the biggest problem, in my opinion, with manifestation.
I like that you brought in, high level examples, and I'm gonna end with my own. I'm gonna use Kobe as the example, right? Here is in my opinion, a perfect example of somebody who probably manifested a lot, but then quickly turned it into action. Kobe was chasing MJ his whole career. Kobe wanted to be better than MJ. Some rights he was. We'll not have this topic debate. I'm a big Kobe fan, big MJ fan. But Kobe looked, okay, what did Kobe want to do? He wanted to be the best. He wanted to be the best. He wanted to be the GOAT. He is the GOAT. What did he do then? Okay, he took those words and went, what's MJ doing? Oh, MJ has this trainer named Tim Grover. Hey, MJ, can I have your trainer? No. MJ paid Tim Grover not to coach anybody else. But eventually, MJ let Tim Grover coach Kobe. Kobe went on to win 5 NBA championships. Three of them were back to back to back 2001, 2000, or 2000, 2001, 2002. That is turning manifestation into clear visualization and to the clear effort. Google Kobe, everybody knows he worked hard. He was in there doing thousands of shots, right? He was doing the stuff required to achieve his goals and what he thought and what he visualized his success to be. Right? Is now that Kobe's passed, it's the Mamba mentality. And that's the legacy he left. Yeah, he probably manifested a lot in his life, but then he visualized it, made a plan, did the plan, achieved success. I guarantee you, listening to the things that I've listened to about Kobe, there are a lot of things, and I mean, he left the earth a little too soon, right? Unfortunate accident, but there are a lot of things that he left undone. So even the best in the world leave, things undone and don't accomplish things. But I guarantee you everything was done to start achieving those things, to have achieved those things, even if you fall short. And you gotta change that shift from only one bucket. The only bucket, if your only bucket is manifestation, throw it out, kick it over. If you had to pick one bucket, action. But you still need other buckets. I don't believe in all in one bucket on there because there's a lot of things that go into building the life you want, into building the body you want, the mind you want, the life, right? The achieving your goals. So don't put all your eggs in one basket or in one bucket in that sense. Do the action required, visualize it, think about it, use manifestation properly. Don't let it become something where people in your life or around you go, well, this guy's just the woo woo guy. He doesn't actually do anything. Don't let that be your story. Let your story be, man, they did it. They worked so hard. They brought people up with them. They created a huge impact. They did all of these incredible things. Let that be your legacy, not what if.
I like it. I appreciate you bringing the topic up. I think it's an important one. And if there's anything you guys want to hear, any questions that you guys have about stuff we chatted about today, then get in touch and we'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. See you, Coop.